Today's episode is brought to you by Artistic Artifacts. Artistic Artifacts specializes in creative finds for creative minds. Shop a wide variety of fabrics, Bernina sewing machines, and products, plus the tools and techniques to enjoy a full range of fiber arts and mixed media. Visit Artistic Artifacts in Alexandria, Virginia, or shop securely online at artisticartifacts.com. Thank you so much, Artistic Artifacts. Welcome to episode 258 of the Craft Industry Alliance podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg. Craft Industry Alliance is a community for craft professionals where you can strengthen your creative business, stay up to date on industry news, and build connections within our supportive trade association. Check it out at craftindustryalliance.org. Today on the show, we're talking about building a knitting business with my guest, Willie Smith. Willie discovered knitting in 2007. He believes he's been given a gift to entertain while teaching, and his purpose is to spend his life enriching other people's lives. Knitting is the vehicle he is using to achieve that end. Willie's vision is for makers to get closer to making exactly what they want through the acquisition of a skill set. Willie is the owner of WNK, and he aims for that brand to soon be a household name. So Willie Smith, welcome.
Thank you so much.
It is great to have you. I am super excited to learn more about you, and you have such a enthusiasm and gift for teaching that I really admire. So I'm very excited to have you on the show. So let's start at the beginning. Where did you grow up, and what were you like as a kid?
Oh, goodness. Let's do it. Well, I grew up in a small town called Banning, California, back in 1986, born and raised there. It's a very small town off I-10, Southern California, about 45 minutes east from LA and about 30 minutes west from Palm Springs. So it just gives you like the geography, since I said it so much, where are you from? Like between these places. And they're like, oh, perfect. I know where that is. I know where Palm Springs is. Life growing up as a kid, just staying on the east side of like a certain street in most of my life wasn't the greatest, but we made do with what we had. I have two brothers on my mom's side and a few siblings on my dad's side as well, single parent household, the whole nine. School was everything to me. Education was everything to me. Being around school and sports and competitive play, like that was where I thrived, and I knew I could do something with either one of them and use them as tools to make my way. And I always told myself that like education and sports was my ticket out, and it was. So I was able to use those skills and, being a scholar athlete and, having the good grades, a 4.0 GPA and, playing sports all year round, you get a lot of looks and, you get a lot of opportunities thrown your way. And I was fortunate enough to get right out of high school and go straight to college. There was no break. Got out in June, and I was in another classroom in University of Redlands in September 2005. So I knew that was just the way for me because, any kind of like lag time, and other people can have like lag time and like break years and things like that. I just knew for me, it wasn't going to be one of those things. And that's why I took the path that I took, definitely blessed to have gotten through all 4 years of college, straight on through, no breaks. And got my bachelor's degree in race and ethnic studies.
Oh, nice.
So like a type of sociology, because I wanted to go around and do the teaching route another way, not like the regular, like routine way of doing all of this stuff. Because I did liberal arts at the University of Redlands for a little while, and I realized that they never see the light of day. Or it was like really, really light, really dark outside, or like I started as an actual biochemistry. That was a mistake.
Biochemistry seems pretty far away from where you landed.
I was very, very ambitious, science. And they were like lab rats. They'd never seen the light of day. And that's just how I wanted to be with it. But, I found my way in sociology and learning about how people in their cultures built their perspective on the world. And for me, being a teacher, my approach was, if I knew how their culture viewed education, I would have a better understanding on what they valued in receiving the education. Because teaching is teaching. But if you're teaching someone things that may not matter to them in their life or their culture, then you're missing the point, because education has its place in every realm of life, but it's your job to figure out where it matters in their life. So that was my approach to teaching.
That's wonderful. As a former teacher myself, I fully appreciate and admire that. And do you think of yourself having always been a teacher? I feel like it's sort of part of your personality to be a teacher, but can you identify times when you felt like you were a teacher, even, before you had any formal training or anything like that, when you were just, growing up, or just feeling like you were good at this, just from the get-go?
Well, starting in sixth grade and, being like a peer mediator, being in the middle of two students like duking it out and having like issues and stuff like that, doing that and having that kind of training and, being on the field and doing certain sports, showing someone how to do a certain step or a certain run or a certain technique. Those were the things. And it wasn't necessarily the way me thinking I was a teacher. I just wanted to help them, because I'm very much a collaborator at heart. We are only as good as everyone around us. And if somebody is not so good, we're all not so good. So this is just me wanting to build up the folks around me so we're all strong and not just one. Right. And that's team sports in essence, so back in sixth grade, my sixth grade math teacher, Mr. McNeil, he really instilled that kind of love for numbers and love for math and love for teaching. Just to see him, flying around numbers and they're rolling off the tongue because he had it down, rote memory, all these numbers and percentages and things. And I was like, how does he know? How does he know so fast? How can he convert fractions, decimals, and percents so fluidly? I just admired that so much. And I remember him telling me one time that you can be anything you want. If you want to do that, there's nothing you can't do if you didn't try hard enough. Right. He didn't really sell us a pipe dream, but he just said that it was possible if you were willing to pay the price. And that always stuck with me, being a teacher. And I just feel it was always my gift, my thing. And when you have a gift, your purpose is to give it away. So me teaching people and helping people, it's almost like helping people, but it's teaching in essence, because no one necessarily doesn't there's not too many people that want to be taught, but they want to know the thing. So how do you mask yourself as someone just, hey, I'm just here to help you out. I got you. It's all good. Right. Mm-hmm. And they walk away knowing the skill and it's done. You've taught them. They're better for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So when you graduated from college, I understand you did an AmeriCorps program. Was that right afterward, or was that some years later?
City year. So if you didn't know anything about me, I always want to have things planned for when I get out of something. I get out of high school straight to college, get out of college straight to, working at the Boys and Girls Club, doing City Year. So City Year's AmeriCorps program, we were all over the country. California was very different in that, everybody around the country had yellow jackets or red jackets. But being in California, in the branches in LA and San Jose, we had yellow jackets because of the gang affiliations. Oh. So, you can't wear, and we're in some of the LAUSD's toughest schools. So you can't just have red and be anywhere. Right. You're going to get stopped. I had a red JanSport backpack, down in Crenshaw, and that was a problem. We had to huddle around me and, walk to the bus stop. You're you can't be out here with these kinds of colors on. I was like, this is crazy. But that was one of the better experiences of my life, really being in the trenches inside of those schools and seeing what these folks had to go through. And it gave me a much bigger appreciation for what the schools didn't have and what these children needed that they weren't getting. And there was a lot of strain that got put on the school system to be that child's, to make up the rest of the parenting stuff, to make up for what the parents didn't know or didn't experience themselves. Kids were coming to school hungry because the last thing they ate was lunch yesterday. No one's listening to math, decimals, and percents when you're hungry. You're just trying to eat. And that was the core issue that folks wasn't really like thinking about, because of course everyone eats when they get home. That's not everybody, right? So there was a lot of perspective changing in that when I got to see what was going on, because there's no like lack of intelligence in those places. People are smart where they want to be. You just got to figure out how to make it matter to them.
Yeah, I did Teach for America, and I had a similar experience. Granted, I was in the Mississippi Delta, so a completely different place, but similar in working in underserved schools. And yeah, it's really eye-opening. So but it can also lead to some burnout. I don't know if you felt that at the end. Did you feel kind of tired or just down from how difficult the circumstances around you really were?
Towards the end of the first year, because I put in about, thousands of hours of community service, because I did it 2 years running. And once I was done the second year, I was a team leader. I actually got Corps Member of the Year
Wow.
first year, and then I was a team leader the next year. And
Wow.
So we had some really good accolades. So it's really, really funny that you mentioned Teach for America, because like that's I guess like the next stage, but I guess we can like table that until we get there, because Teach for America was the thing that really springboarded a lot of stuff for me. But as far as like feeling the burnout, yeah, there were some days where you're riding on the bus and it's a long hour ride back because public transportation was just way better than taking your own car. Nobody likes tickets, but just listening to the stories and feeling like, what could I possibly do to really move this needle?
Right.
It's just me. They only see me for 2, 3, 4 hours a day, and they go home. Who knows what they're dealing with when they get home? What are they not telling me? Because that might incriminate their family member, and that information might separate the entire family, those kinds of things. So there's a lot of fear and a lot of back and forth on what I choose to let you have, what I trust to let you have, all of those things. So it's a lot of moving around and just masking. So like that takes a great deal of energy, not even just on the kids' part, but on our part too, because we're taking on their struggle. Trying to tell them to listen and eat and do these things for yourselves, and they don't even have the basics together consistently. So it's definitely stressful.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So after that 2-year commitment was concluded, what did you do next? And I know we're going to get back to how you learned to knit, which was in college. Sure. So we will return. But what did you do next?
Okay. So 2011 was a very, very rough year for me, just thinking about it from hindsight is 2020. So I finished city year, and in that time I was applying for Teach for America. So along with 2 of my college friends, and fun fact, they didn't even want to be teachers. So like, I thought that was kind of weird. Like, why are you doing Teach for America? You want to be teachers, but it was a foundation thing for them to get to where they wanted to go. One's now a lawyer, and the other one, he went into the Air Force. Appreciate the service. But they went, we all did it. We all like crammed in our apartment, and we did all of our lesson plans and things like that. Long story short, those 2 got in and I didn't. And I was the one that wanted to be a teacher. So that really, I was devastated.
That's their loss for sure. Their loss for sure.
Devastated. I could not believe the one that wanted to be a teacher, that really cared about the kids. I didn't get in. So I didn't get in. And so I was really like discouraged and depressed. That was the same year my mother passed away. And stage 4 liver cancer. So I'm pretty down in the dumps now. Pretty rough. Luckily one of my college friends, my brother's, his name's Johnny, he hit me with an opportunity to go do because he knew I liked education because we went to college together for a couple years before he got out. And he's like, "Hey, why don't you come up to me with me to Seattle? And I run an outdoor school out in like the sticks in Washington, and you can still teach, you still around kids and stuff." And I was like, nothing else is in California for me. My mom is gone, my brother's still there. I love him. I didn't get the job that I wanted after putting in all of this work to be in schools, and we made all this impact. And I wanted to be a teacher, and Teach for America was like the goal. It was the thing, and it didn't happen. So I sold my car. I packed up all my things. I had 5 pieces of luggage and a dream, and off north to the Pacific Northwest I went.
My goodness, that must have been quite a different environment to be a teacher in, though. If you're out in like the woods teaching kids in a completely, just a completely different setting than where you were in LA.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was really different in the way that the value system that was placed on the family values and the behaviors in the school district, because they tied the outdoor school into the school district. So they bused kids from the cities to it's called Waskowitz. So it's down in North Bend, Washington, in the sticks. You look it up on Google, it's in the sticks. It's like a compound that's like protected by the Civilian Conservation Corps. And it's a lot of acres, by a river. We're teaching kids, all these values, teamwork, honesty, integrity, being around each other when we're eating. We did like a 5-day, 4-night or 4-day, 3-night experience where they stayed overnight. I was a boys' room dorm advisor there for a year, and we were teaching these kids basically how to be productive members of society in the woods. You never think that you would learn these kinds of skills in the woods, but they totally apply. And I did that for a full year. So it was like we put on skits. It was like an entire experience. So shout out to Waskowitz for that and giving me that opportunity. It was a great time. So I did that for a year, and then I was in Washington.
Right. Okay. So let's just wind back the clock briefly so we can touch on how you learn how to knit, because I see knitting coming back into your life soon in this story. So you were in college, you saw someone who was knitting, and what were you thinking when you saw that?
I was like, how is this working? And like, there was no pattern. She wasn't looking at a pattern. She wasn't looking at anything on her phone, nothing, right? It's 2007. So like, there's nothing really going on, but she's in class, knitting. And I'm in like a gender studies class or something, and I'm just enamored. I can't even listen to what the professor's saying. I'm right there. I'm like, what are you doing? How are you doing it? It was an intarsia scarf with the skull and crossbones, pink background, purple skull and crossbones. Ridiculous, right? Amazing. Knitting it flat on like straight needles. And I just had to know. And I almost like interrupted the whole class, but like I found my composure. I didn't want to like act like a fanboy. And I waited until class was over, and I asked her, I was like, hey, I need you to show me how to do that. Now, perception is reality, right? I understand the way I looked at the time. Like, I was totally urban. We'll just say it like that. I was urban, right? The Echo Unlimited shirt that was 3 sizes too big. The matching New York Yankee fitted hat with the matching Air Force One lows, with the baggy Echo pants. It was a great outfit, but not the type of person in that kind of outfit that would be interested in fiber arts. So I can understand her apprehension. I mean, it was either that or like a really lame pickup line, one of the two. But right. But she pretty much ignored me. It felt like I scared her off. But she came back to class the next time, and I kept asking her over and over again, and just trying to be respectful and keep my distance, because I'm a guy and she's a gal, and it's not gonna be pretty if she feels a certain way. So I'm thinking about all of these things, but I'm genuinely interested. I just want you to show me how to do that. Like, how do you do that thing? And after a couple of weeks, she was like, okay, he either really wants to take me out or he really wants to learn how to knit. It's one of the two, right? One of the two. And so she she accepts. She sends me to Joanne to go buy like some needles. So like I remember like it was yesterday. There were red boy needles, straight 5mm US AIDS, and some red heart yarn. So that's what I had. And I went to her dorm. She just so happens to live in an all-girls dorm. So let's play the scenario again. I'm a man, all-girls dorm. I get the full-on like frisk, name tag, timestamp. They did everything but a DNA sample, for real. So I go there, there's like two floors up, and we're in her like dorm room, doors wide open. There's girls flying through. I'm timing it 90 seconds. Somebody shoot, 90 seconds, shoot, 90 seconds, shoot. Like somebody's watching all the time. I'm like, I just got needles in my hand. I'm like, I can't even focus. Why y'all watching me like this? This is crazy. But she showed me how to cast on, knit, and purl. Freaked out, so freaked out. Like she didn't even like, she couldn't wrap her head around like this was actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't show me how to bind off. So that's all I got. But that's all I needed. I went back to my little like dorm room house thing, and I was in it, like just back and forth, garter stitch all the way. Didn't really understand the purl so much, but like making scarves. I tried to make a hat, and I just fell in love with that. And I was just like, I can do something with this. It's the art of doing something and making something, transforming string to something that can really serve a purpose for you in life.
So satisfying. Yeah.
It's transformative.
I want to take a moment now to talk with our sponsor, Artistic Artifacts. Here is a message from Artistic Artifacts. Artistic Artifacts was created by a mixed media fiber artist, Judy Gola. We want to challenge the fiber artists to use unconventional materials in their creative adventures. There are not many venues for artists interested in these mediums, and Judy wanted to create a learning experience for them. Registration is now open for Artistic Artifacts' second annual Creative Minds Summit, a 3-day mixed media retreat taking place April 19th through 21st at Artistic Artifacts in Alexandria, Virginia. Artistic Artifacts owner Judy Gulla will be joined by 3 of their most popular instructors, the very talented fiber and mixed media artist Liz Kettle of Textile Evolution, Gwen LaFleur, and Libby Williamson. Most or all materials are provided for each Creative Minds Summit class, with a kit fee payable to your instructor. Each full-day class description will detail what is included as well as your student supply list. In addition, lunch is provided each day. Note that for the summit classes that include machine sewing, a number of Bernina models are set up for student use. Whether you take 3 offerings by one instructor, experience a different teacher each day, or attend a single class, you'll be sure to have a great experience. The Artistic Artifacts Creative Minds Summit is an event worth traveling for, so treat yourself to a spring fling by registering now. Seats are limited. Alexandria, Virginia features preserved 18th and 19th century architecture in its Old Town district, with acclaimed restaurants, boutiques, and a vibrant arts culture. It's one of the Condé Nast's top 3 best small cities in the United States. Artistic Artifacts is also located just outside Washington, D.C., with its exceptional lineup of museums, monuments, and more. Plan a trip with family and friends. They'll be happily occupied while you are attending the summit. Visit the Artistic Artifacts website at artisticartifacts.com and click the Workshops and Events tab to learn more about the summit and to register for your choice of these exciting creative opportunities. Thank you so much, Artistic Artifacts. And now, back to my conversation with Willie.
Change someone's life. You can change someone's situation and unlock creativity that they didn't even know they had.
Right.
I saw all that in that moment, and I never stopped since.
Yeah. So, first of all, I love the fact that you went to Joanne and you bought red heart yarn and straight needles. And I just feel like that is the beginning for so many people. And I feel like those big box stores really do play an important role in the like life cycle of a crafter. So that just from that. But how did you get, like, you're really good at knitting now. Like, you're
Oh,
really good. You're like a master. I mean, I know you've said before, like, you feel like you're always still learning, and that's, I think, a lifetime of learning ahead of you, but you're a really good knitter. So how did you go from that beginning stage, that first lesson, to becoming a really skilled knitter that you are now?
all right. So let's see. Let's fast forward 11, 12 years. So now it's 2019, 2018. I'm still working. I'm doing things. I'm making things. I'm testing the waters, testing the boundaries, going to local yarn stores, learning about yarn, learning about fiber, learning about needles, what I can do, adapting it to my own style. What do I like? I'm exploring me. What do I like? What can I show? Because like my whole like philosophy, if I know it, I can show it. And that's like my teacher's mantra. If I know it, I
I
can
love
show it.
that. Yeah.
I'll find a way, right? I'll find a way
Mhm.
to get you to know what I know.
Mhm.
If I was making hats and I'm in, Columbus, Ohio now. I moved for work and I'm always trying to make extra money. And I was making these hats, just to make them and then show them. And I'm on Facebook, I was Black Sheep Crafts on Facebook for a while. Still there. I can't change my name now, but my wife's friend from somewhere in the Midwest seen my hats and she said, "How much?" And
Mm.
I stopped. I said, "What? You
Mhm.
mean this is good enough for you to buy? Like you pay for this?" She's like, "Yeah, how much?"
Mm.
And I don't even remember what the number was. I was so flabbergasted. I was like, this is crazy. So I ended up making 6 hats for her.
Wow.
So I made 6 hats for her and she paid for them. And I was like, well, the thing is when you get paid for a service or a product, you don't just go back to where you were. That's a milestone. You've just crossed over. You're
Right.
here. You can do something with this. And that was the moment for me when I did that in 2019, August 19th, 2019. That's when Willy Nilly Knits was born and the vision was born. And that's where we are now. So like I'm almost 5 years deep and it's been a heck of a journey. And I still want to keep doing what I'm doing and making it bigger, making it better, and just getting closer to the vision.
Okay. So I think you started the way that a lot of us start, which is to say you were good at a certain thing. Somebody saw it and said, you should make this into a business. And you were like, I should. Okay. And then sold that finished good. Now, granted, it's hard to do that and make a profitable business. We kind of find that out the hard way, where you're
Yeah.
spending hundreds of hours making these things and only getting $30 or something like that. And it just ends up being very, I mean, it's possible, but it's also it's a difficult road. So how did you sort of realize, okay, maybe selling hats isn't the way, but there is a way for me to make this into a real business?
Oh, I love that question because that's exactly how I had to figure it out. When my creativity got stifled with orders, when I couldn't
Mm,
be creative and try to innovate and be a better person and keep exploring, like before the money, that's when I knew products and selling your goods and selling your wares, that is not sustainable because that's not how I started. And we're not going to beat a machine. We're just not. Machines can make things way faster. Yes, the quality is not there. But again, with a person, we live in this super hustle bustle, fast paced, instant gratification, Amazon Prime life. That's not feasible for all of us. And, when you need a hat now, you can't wait up to 2 weeks. You need a hat now, or you want to make a sweater and like, don't even go into sweaters because that's a dead end street. Don't even mess with it. I learned that too. But that's how I figured it out. But figuring out the A way, I go back to like the core of me, right? How
mm,
can I get more people to do what they want to do? And then I just started thinking, okay, let's figure out the topography, the geography of the knitting community, where we at here,
right.
and where am I? right? Now we're talking like big picture business stuff, right? We have new knitters. We have the whole spectrum of knitters. Then we have designers, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have people that want to sell their patterns. And then we have other people that want their patterns, but may not know how to make the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just nestle myself right in the middle because I'm the middle person. So I turn one way and I'm looking at the newer and upcoming knitters.
Right.
And I'm saying, hey, new person, I can show you how to make the things you fawn over with XYZ designer. And they're like, really? You can? That's great. How do I know that? Sure, look at my page. I made it too, right? Because no one believes what you say. They believe what they see. They believe what they can experience. They see the lifestyle, right? So when I like, that's how you kind of win them over. And that's like a whole nother thing, like, marketing, all that kind of stuff. But then I look at designers and big businesses and other businesses and people I can collaborate with. Hey, person, I can show those folks how to do the things to buy your thing. What do you think? And they're like, well, that's great. Well, how do we know you're legit? Well, just look at my page again, because no one believes what you say. So there's a lot of proving that I have to do to show that I'm doing that. And they see the hats, they see the sweaters, and they know it doesn't take a quick amount of time. They know I'm not using a knitting machine. So in them just seeing it, they know I'm legit.
Right.
They know right then and there because visuals are everything. We're taking 80+% of information through our eyes, right? Why are we talking? No talking.
Right.
And just show, right? So that's where I feel like I nestle myself in there. So with Willy Nilly Knits, it's not a business that sells products, but it's a business that works with other businesses to help meet their needs because there's money in all of that. This is an abundant place. Right.
Right.
So just good luck trying to figure out that pitch to my wife. That was tough. But she was on board and she had to see a whole lot of things too and really walk her through my strategy. Like when people pass me, new knitters pass me to the designers, a couple of coins just fall out and I pick up those coins, right? And that's the commerce part. So that's the form of the tutorials, the one-on-one sessions and things like that. So
right. So you're like you're the person who shows new knitters how to achieve their dreams and helps translate designers' patterns into something that newer knitters can work with and succeed with, because not everybody's a teacher. So and there's a lot of ways to do that. There's a lot of ways to be that teacher today, right? You can obviously teach in person, and we're going to get to that too. I mean, that's one way to do it. You can travel around, you can teach locally. I mean, there's ways to do that. And then you can also teach online. So you do a lot of videos, especially short videos, like these little 90-second videos. It's a minute and a half. In a minute and a half, you're going to learn something from me. So I guess, how did you land on that short kind of, because some people make an hour and a half long YouTube video to show something. There's plenty of that in the knitting world as well. But how did you land on that short form, and how did you get into video? What have you learned about video over the course of making all of these videos? I'm sure there's been a learning curve.
Absolutely. And I take a lot of what I learned in teaching and being around kids and being around people, because, sociology, studying people, like that is a profession that will never end. There's always something to know about somebody and people's behaviors and what drives people's behaviors. So it's a lot of psychological stuff and behavioral stuff, right? I'm trying to put myself in that new knitter's position because I can't take my new knitter's experience and use that to extrapolate everything else, because that time's different. Like I wanted something different. Somebody just wants to make a hat. Someone just wants to make something for their dog. That's a different whole set of wants and behaviors that are going to drive that. So we know that our attention spans are not great. They're not long by any means, especially when you're trying to learn something. So learning something needs to be so simple, you'd be a fool not to try. So that's how that's what I built my entire thing around. I want to make it look so easy that, of course, you can try, right? that was the whole thing for me, using the attention spans and things. So like, and I was on YouTube just like everybody else. I learned from Barry Pink Knits and all the other knitting folks, Roxanne Richardson, all the like, the old heads, the legends, like in the knitting community, right? I learned from them, and I'm just seeing like what they're doing and how they're doing it. They're getting the point across. The subject matter is there. It's not grabbing people. How do you grab somebody? Like, what do you do to keep them there, right? And every one of those videos, like, yeah, there are a couple of minutes, here and there, and some of them have to be long and some of them. But if I could get you to be excited about the thing that you're looking at, see the thing that you're looking at, and wonder what else you can do now that you've learned the thing in 90 seconds.
Amazing. Yeah.
I got you. So like, it's not just a one thing, it's a plethora of things that's compressed and distilled, right? You're distilling entertainment, education, marketing, sales, pitches, all in one, and that's what I was telling my wife too. Like, why does it take you so long to do a 90-second video? Well, it's that 90 seconds took an hour. Okay. It took an hour to do, because all of those things have to be either written out, the concepts have to be there. Everything is just like a commercial, right?
Right.
It's all strategically placed. Nothing is in a commercial by accident. Everything is on purpose. And my videos are the same way. It's all on purpose. If you're going to be here, I only got 90 seconds. So like, I can't really be diddling around. I got to go. Right. If I'm going to be teaching the, tubular cast on, I got 90 seconds. You get the 15, the 15, the 15, 30. We're done. Bye. Right. Sprinkle in some entertainment here and there.
Yeah.
There. And there you go. Because we don't have that kind of time. And it all really stemmed from me not liking how I had to learn in YouTube. I didn't like how I had to listen to a podcast and go all the way to like 57 minutes of 102 minutes and not like the tutorial, right? Because again, it's the behaviors that drive, right? Those conditions are driving behaviors. Why are YouTube videos so long? Watch time. Why do you want watch time? Ad revenue.
Right. The goals are not aligned. It's different. It's, that's YouTube's business goals, right? Exactly. That's YouTube trying to make money. That's why it's so long.
And the people in YouTube are like basically conforming to that algorithm.
Sure.
Like they're there and they like, you have to make these videos at least 8 minutes long for you
in order to get enough ad revenue to make it worth your while. And right. But you have to sort of decide, is that my goal? Is that what I want to do?
Right. And that was my decision that I made. And the answer was no. Right. And I tell people all the time in my videos, I'm not going to get rich off YouTube. I'm not going to make something that's 17 minutes long for you to learn something. If my goal, if my dream, if my vision is for you to learn something, why am I not getting that to you as quick as possible? Right. Because we're talking about, my audience is 97% women. 97. It's a lot.
Wow. So, that's a lot. That's that girl's dorm back in the day, right? That's that girl's.
It's everybody, right? Yeah. And I got a couple of guys. It's all good. It's just that I'm trying to think of how their life is structured around knitting and what they use knitting for. They carved out 20 minutes that they had to fight, scratch, and claw for. Kids finally went to sleep. They're finally off work. They're finally on break. They want to do this project. Christmas is coming up. Something is going on. They don't have 17 minutes to burn. Right. You got 90 seconds with me. Get back to what you got to do. Right. And work. Right.
And I think Google has figured that out, because if you notice now, and I mean, we all learn so many things off of YouTube. I learn things on YouTube all the time, but I'll be like, how do I, hand bind this quilt or whatever? I'll Google that. The YouTube video that comes up is there, but now Google's been like, okay, you need to go to minute 32. And they've already selected that little clip for you. Minute 32 to minute 34, that's where the answer to your specific question is located. So what I do is, I'm sure we all do this, right? You click over, you watch minute 32 to minute 34. Oh yeah, I remember the stitch now, done, turn it off, right? Like, and it's almost like YouTube. I mean, we can watch the whole thing for entertainment, but Google's figured out, like, you just actually want the answer to your question, and it's right here.
There you go. And I'm the same way. And I didn't have to figure that out, through like SEO or like a think tank.
Right.
Just being in the trenches, shoulder to shoulder with
Sure.
people, right? And being in like forums and chat messages and comment sections, talking about like these videos, like nobody likes to watch a tutorial that's masked as a podcast.
Right. You just want it. Yeah, you want it. So, and the other thing I think is really brilliant about what you do, and I think it's part of your personality really, is there's, as you mentioned earlier, there's like an entertainment factor as well. So it's not just like you straight up coming in being like, look, here's what you need to do this, do this, do this, do this, goodbye. You also capture the attention and keep the attention of the audience through sort of being naturally good at entertaining people. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, like your enthusiasm, your humor, just that ability to sort of keep people's attention through entertainment at the same time while teaching.
It was the same thing that I did when I was a teacher. Like, let's make sure that we're like plopping ourselves. Let's like do like the Google thing, like pick ourselves up and just like drop ourselves in Watts, in LAUSD's toughest schools, where you have to have some kind of likability about you for people to even care what you're saying. People don't care what you know until they know that you care.
Right.
You have
That's great.
They have to figure out that you care about them and you're not trying to like churn them through and use them and, throw them away like other bits of the system has.
Right.
So there's a lot of proving, just like I was saying, like with the new knitters and the designers or like the big businesses and things like that, like that has to be there. So when I'm talking about fractions, decimals, and percents, that's dry on its face. But the application is what people care about so much, especially kids. My own son, he loves the concept of money and buying things and selling things so he can get what he wants. And that's what I want to teach my kid, because that's what I was teaching kids for so many years. This has real world applications.
Sure.
And that's what I saw a lot of teachers not being able to do and just really going through the motions. And that's where, like, I had my opportunities. I was a tutor. Why am I not understanding this? Well, why is this not geared in a way that's making it like real for you? You need real world applications. You need to have this applied for you. So me doing that in yarn and on Instagram, it's a muscle that I've always been flexing. I know this concept. It's just a different scenario. Because it's all math, right? Gauge, sizing, negative ease, positive ease.
Yeah.
It's all math. It's lovely.
Yeah, for sure. So I know you started on Instagram and really built, you have a huge following on Instagram. It's incredibly impressive. I think I looked last night and it was 161,000 followers on Instagram or some ridiculous number like that, which is amazing.
I didn't even look at it. That's big. It's
that's
growing.
Big. So was there like a turning point for you when you felt like, okay, that was a significant thing that just happened and this is real now? Can you identify a turning point for you in this
Absolutely. I identify all the turning points. they're so real in my life. And I always make sure I remember them because as you say, like, being an entertainer, like I would love to be on a talk show. I would love to be on TV. It is awesome. I love an audience. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
But the turning point was when I got like, the 100-something thousand followers, like what I was doing different. And I remember the actual day. It was December 22nd, 2022. I remember the day, like where I went from like 5,000 followers, because I went from I only had like 4,000, 5,000 followers for like 3 years. Went from 0 to like 5,000. It took me 3 years.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And then that happened. I don't know who saw something, who shared something, but it caught fire. It was my double knitting video.
Yeah, I've watched it. Yeah.
And it caught fire. And it was just like 5,000, 10,000, 12,000.
Wow. So it just went viral, literally viral.
It just went up. And like people that like, I was hanging with, making friends with in the fiber community, they're like, Willie, did you know you're at 45,000? I'm not I'm making videos. Like, I'm not watching it, like, because to me, that number, it wasn't like it was insignificant, but I didn't look at that number as a bearing on like who I was, what I was worth, or anything like that. I just saw it as, okay, they finally see somebody that's giving them something that's useful. Okay, great. Took you long enough.
It's
Cool.
very possible that you explained it in this way. I mean, that's what I would say. That was entertaining, but also like really easy to understand. And it's a complicated concept that is hard to understand.
You're right, and just using words and concepts that people like really like already readily relate to,
Right.
like may not like know what like over the yarn over this part of the needle from front to back. But like if you see it and I just go whoop, and then like another one is like wop, just like I was doing like the tubular cast on or like Judy's Magic Cast On, just doing whoops and wops, people get that, and that's all that matters. Like we can always go back to the actual terms, but the core of it, the crux of it, do you get it? Are you able to do it now? If the answer is yes, then we win. There's nothing else to talk about, right?
Right. Yeah. You take away kind of the snobbery or that barrier to entry where you're like, if you don't know the insider vocabulary, then you can't participate.
Sure. And there's very much of it that kind of stuff out there. And I'll say it like this, like it's not, and it is kind of snobbery because like people like gatekeep if you can't really speak the language,
right?
But there's translators, right? So like, what is it?
And a translator. I mean, that's part of what a teacher is a translator.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you don't know how to, really decipher like a percent difference in something when you're talking about money or business or something like that, some people may not want to hear it like that. They may need a scenario and they're saying, okay, I bought this for this, I paid this much money, but I sold it for this and it took me this long. And I say my time is worth X amount of money per hour. I lost money. And if you can get them to realize that, you win, right? And that's what teachers' jobs, I feel like duties should be, right? I don't care about like the terminology so much. It has its place. Right. But if you don't know what you're doing, the words still don't matter.
Right. 100%.
Still don't matter. Like they only matter when we say they matter, when I can attach meaning to them.
100%.
That's the same thing with knitting. Right. I don't care what a tubular cast on is until I understand I want this kind of toe or I want this kind of edge. I don't want the boxy trapezoidal edge. I want the round edge that actually looks like a sock. I want it to be aesthetic. Okay, well, you need to know this.
Right.
See this. And
then you're motivated. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So you have this tagline that you have on a lot of your merch. So I wondered if you could talk about that tagline, how you chose it, what it means to you.
Perfect. So we out here. Let them know we out here, right? It's a message of inclusion. And it's a message of people being in a place where we take care of each other and we want other folks around us to know that we are here, not for political reasons or any other kind of like dividing kind of reasons. We are here because we are united and humans need humans. Humans need humans. And it sounds a whole lot better than me out here.
Right.
We out here is a lot better. We invites, we involves, and we by definition of what it is, it cannot exclude in the context of my vision, right? Like, oh yeah, like based on my vision, like we does not mean you. It definitely means you. If you want to make what you want, it definitely means you. And that we can look like anything. So it's really like the vision and like the we out here, it's so pure. It can't be really tainted if you keep it within the context of my vision. So like, that's why I chose it.
Yeah, I love it. It's a great tagline. And I did reference this earlier that you have gotten invited to do some teaching. So I know you're going to be teaching at an upcoming important show. So I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about that. And if you know what you're teaching yet, share that as well so people can get excited.
Let's go, for sure. Get excited. Come join the class. It'd be awesome. So down in DFW in September, I'm going to be teaching there. I have a few classes that are on the books. They are kind of subject to change, but I don't think I'm going to change them. So I have one class that's about knitting jargon, right? We were just talking about that.
Right.
Knowing what these things mean, because you can't do the designer stuff if you can't read the pattern. right? Like I can't paraphrase the entire pattern. Like the things that are in there need to be in there for a reason. But you gotta be able to read it, right? It's just like reading like ancient text. You gotta
Right.
know.
It is. For somebody who's brand new and looks at a knitting pattern, it feels that way. It's like, what?
Yeah, especially if they're looking at a chart, right?
Yeah.
Because people don't usually look at the difficulty; they just look at the finished product and be like, "Oh, that's pretty. Let's try it."
Right.
Oh,
Right.
what is this? All these squigglies. So that's one of them. Another one is an Aran sweater sleeve. Because everybody loves the coveted Aran sweater, and most patterns are charted because they have to be. Can you imagine putting on? It'd be a book if you use all words.
Mhm.
It'd be a book, even if you use like just letters, K-A-P, K-Utah, da, 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 da. It'd be a book, right? But if you have a chart, you just have this grid, da, 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 you're good. And taking people through that, and usually it worked flat because they're so structural. Especially like Aran sweaters, like the one I made, like you have to make it flat. So you start the cuff, increase, and start your pattern. So like taking people through that, like through that whole journey shows them like you're literally making fabric.
Right.
This is
So
where you
cool.
do this, and then you stop, and then you're gonna make this. Here's why we need to change to bigger needles. Here's why we need to have this, why we need to increase so much because it needs to fit all those stitches in there. That's the other one. And then the other one is probably going to be the upcoming pattern that I'm going to be launching is a slipper pattern. So all of the classes that I'm teaching, they all have elements in them that you gain the skills to go out and transfer them into other things. That's always the point. Every Ravelry pattern that I have, that's the point. I'm not going to get rich off pattern sales because I'm not a designer, right? But the best way to get people to understand is teach. And I teach through the pattern. So even like I learned how to do these two skills and now I have a hat to show for it. That's great, right? You want to have those kinds of things. So those are the things that I'm teaching there. And I hope the listeners, somebody comes in and joins and, you get closer to making what you want in 2024.
Absolutely. So that's DFW Fiberfest. If you want to sign up, keep your eye out for those classes. And I'd love to get to your recommendations, Willie. So you wanted to recommend 3 things. One is the mini minder. So what is this?
Yes, the mini minder. So we have a lot of whips in our lives, all of us, right?
Yep.
And some of those whips aren't portable because of obvious reasons. Maybe it's too much yarn. Maybe the yarn is not wound right. Or, you don't want to get it all dusty because it's cashmere and it collects dust like a magnet and it's expensive. The mini minder is a solution for you that you can take your knitting on the go. So it's made by Lemonwood and Lemonwood Love. They're going to be at Vogue Knitting Live soon, whenever it pops on. And it's a family company, and it's basically a platform made from 2 pieces of wood
right
at the machine. And you can pretty much stick your yarn cake on there. It opens up from the outside, so it's not a center pull, and it spins. So like the high quality hardware that they choose, they pick, they put all the stuff together by hand and all that. They pack everything by hand, and that whole solution there. It's a leather strap, and you can just walk and knit or crochet.
Right.
Whatever you do, you can walk and do that on the go. I met them at DFW last year, and it was such a good business at first sight, love at first sight, if you will, right? As soon as we left DFW, we made all of the connections, and she was already making Veronica. She was already making mini minders like with my logo on them. I got them on my website right now. And we just struck up this relationship. So like I promote her products, she sends me products, I promote them. It's just such a great relationship. And I only really promote products that I feel and believe my audience will want, and it lines up and it still aligns with my vision. And the mini minder does just that, because now you're gonna have less whips because you can take your whips in more places with you.
Right. Absolutely. And then you also wanted to recommend the Delicue notebook.
Yes, right. Organization is everything. We lose a lot of needles. We lose a lot of stuff. We lose a lot of cables. We lose a lot of crochet hooks. We lose all these things. But to have all of them in one discrete little place helps us. We can where's that? Notebook, snap, open it up. Got your different pages. You can I have a video on my Instagram on how I organize mine. You open up the first page, you see all my double points. It's such a great little. It's aesthetically looking good. The next page is another place where you can like store stuff. It's got a lot of little elastic places, like a little pencil holder type stuff everywhere. A place for your super sharp scissors, a place for your tape measure, a place for all of the little notions with zippers and stuff made with high quality leather, rustic looking buttons, zippers. It's great. I love it. I love how organized everything is, and like you want to put your things back.
Right.
It's like a master craftsman or like a carpenter, right? When they're putting their tools away, the hammer comes back down, the tool belt comes off. It goes right there, right where I need it. And everything is in its place. And it's going to replace a lot of things. So very useful tool. Again, portable. Take it with you. You don't have to be walking around janging and clanging and banging around with all your double points and, clinging and sounding like wind chimes when you're walking. Not okay. It's 2024. And it's just better for people. And it just looks nice, right? It's canvas. Man, can't lose.
It's good to invest in beautiful tools that you enjoy touching and using. It really enhances the experience of crafting. So I definitely agree with you. And then the last one you wanted to recommend is Instagram in general. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you think about Instagram.
I think about Instagram as a virtual place where community can really happen and you can find your tribe, right? Like, cause like even in a bigger tribe, like America, we have our own small little cliques and tribes and everything. We're just built like that. We just do that, right? Even in like a compound, there's always going to be like these little globs of people that like really click together, and you'll find your way there, because I found my way there. Like, in my little corner of the internet there of Instagram, I have, a group of folks that I really, rock with. And I've been rocking with them for years, and they know I haven't changed. And I told them, if I was to ever make it big, you guys, your job is to make sure that I never forget where I came from, okay? Because I'm human and I know my kind of tendencies, and temptation is real in all forms. And you're going to need that outside source of influence to really help you stay on the straight and narrow. No one really got to the top by themselves.
Right.
There's a reason for that.
Right. Right.
So me understanding this, I've taken deliberate steps to pick the people that I rock with, business wise and people wise, very seriously, because these temptations affect us all. And I recommend Instagram because I want people to be able to see what's out there and what you can get from it. It's a big resource. You just can't get sucked into like the doom scroll, especially like we're talking about like the knitting community, and the knitting is really easy to get sucked up into politics or sucked up into that. And it becomes less and less about yarn. It becomes less and less about me making this for this kid or making this hat for like some newborn preemie in the hospital or something like that. Like the meaning of why we do what we do can easily get diminished. So being around people that help enhance and foster, nurture that.
Yeah.
To find those people there. That's where I found them. You can find them in all kinds of places, but the internet is a real thing, and you can reach a lot more people a lot faster.
Right, right. That is so true. Well, Willie, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Craft Industry Alliance podcast and sharing your story with us. It was great.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was a pleasure.
And you've been listening to the Craft Industry Alliance podcast. I'm Abby Glassenberg. Today's episode was brought to you by Artistic Artifacts. Artistic Artifacts specializes in creative finds for creative minds. Shop a wide variety of fabrics, Bernina sewing machines, and products, plus the tools and techniques to enjoy a full range of fiber arts and mixed media. Visit Artistic Artifacts in Alexandria, Virginia, or shop securely online at artisticartifacts.com. Thank you so much, Artistic Artifacts. Craft Industry Alliance is a community for craft professionals. When you become a member of Craft Industry Alliance, you get in-depth coverage of craft industry news, the opportunity to connect with fellow professionals for advice and support, and access to an educational library filled with ideas, tools, and resources to help you as you build your business. Join us at craftindustryalliance.org. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.